I mean, Obscura for me, it's like life-changing already. Since I got there, it's been like a short period of time and it's already made so much big changes in my life and making my dreams come true. Like now it's like my first big sale, and then we're having a book, and then this community and being part of this community is the most important part of me for me, because I'm being able to get to know these photographers now and being close friends with them. And
Welcome to the Digital Twin Podcast. Every Wednesday, we speak with artists, collectors, and brands about how they're navigating the broader crypto ecosystem and how you can be a part. I'm Adriana Soto-Wright.
And I'm Natalie Soto-Wright.
And we're on a mission to empower our listeners to engage with crypto in both the digital and physical worlds. Welcome to the show.
Maybe we can start by just into your photography background, kind of diving into how you just got into photography itself, and if you knew that it was kind of something you always wanted to pursue. Is it kind of something you do full time? Would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I started when I was 10 years old, I think.
Awesome.
Not as a professional photographer, of course, but my parents gave me my first film camera. It was this small red film camera, analog camera. So my parents will develop my film and we're like surprised with the results. They will be like, oh, she's taking some good pictures at 10.
Yeah.
So I had that camera for a long time, but I didn't know I wanted to be a photographer. I only knew I love photography, but I didn't thought about being a photographer until I was way older.
Yeah.
So it was nice beginning to do that. I will take so much portraits of my siblings, even my dog.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. I will dress my dog up. I will put little dresses and take some portraits in the bed with my furry animals. So I always was very naturally intent to do portraits. I love doing portraits and shooting people more than anything.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then how did you learn about NFTs? What was something that kind of sparked you to get involved in NFTs?
I mean, I started to know about NFTs because of a friend. He told me to buy this streetcar spark in February of this year. So I was like, I have no clue what you're talking about, but we were getting into crypto. So I was like, I'll do it. I'm so into this now that I found the rabbit hole. I was on Clubhouse listening to these Bitcoin maxi rooms.
Yeah.
And then I started the rooms in Clubhouse started to develop NFT rooms and people talking about NFTs all day. And then I started to make friends from there. So it was a learning experience and also making friends that were into the same things that I was getting into. So I learned so much from there.
That's awesome. I was going to say also, I'm just noticing now that I've jumped into the sort of the Twitter NFT photography community, that's just another complete, awesome place to jump in. Have you found, you mentioned Clubhouse to start. When you first jumped into Twitter, how did you kind of set yourself up there and try to build a community for yourself there?
I mean, I wasn't paying much attention to Twitter in the beginning of when I started doing NFTs because I was so into Clubhouse back then, and Twitter didn't have Twitter Spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing Twitter, but it was more like of buying NFTs and flipping. But then I was like, oh, there's a huge photography community here. And I started to follow all these photographers. I still try to do. And getting photography on my Twitter feed, it was amazing because I usually didn't get that.
Exactly.
So, and then after with the Twitter Spaces, I started joining all the photography spaces and listening to photographers, and the community there is super nice. And it's super nice to hear all these people's stories.
Yeah. And then how did you decide to get involved with Obscura DAO?
A friend tagged me on a tweet. I didn't know anything about Obscura, but a friend tagged me and it was like, photographers, send your submissions since the last day. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was going to get selected because there were only 22 spaces left.
Okay.
So I was a little bit late. But then when I got selected, my friend that got me into NFTs messaged me that, oh, we're in. He was in too because he was a photographer. And I was super excited.
That's awesome. That's great. And how has it been, being a part of that community and connecting with the photographers? Like, is that something you feel is kind of irreplaceable? Like the fact that just happened overnight for you? Like, how's that experience been?
I mean, Obscura for me, it's like life changing already. Since I got there, it's been like a short period of time, and it's already made so much big changes in my life and making my dreams come true. Like now it's like my first big sale, and then you're having a book, and then this community and being part of this community is the most important part of me for me, because I'm being able to get to know these photographers now and being close friends with them. And, uh, for me, the Discord is like a super tight community. Like Obscura DAO Discord is a tight community between the NFT community. So it's part of being on this community and then on this smaller community, but it's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah. And for the Who We Are collection, could you talk more about what that process was like, getting selected to be a part of that initial launch, which is, has done like an amazing job bringing so many photographers to the limelight, but would love to hear what that process was like for you when you joined Who We Are collection.
Well, since for me to join, it was, like I said, it was the last day. So I gathered some photos together and I was like, I hope they like them. And I sent them on the Discord. So it was fairly easy because I just had to send my work and they will be like, okay, you're in. And then after I got in, they had different channels for all the photographers that were selected. And they gave us some rules like, okay, you have to photograph people in the Web3 community or NFTs.
Yep.
And that process was easy. And then to be able to select the people that we were shooting to, it was difficult because they had this time frame.
Yeah.
So we had to deliver all the photos by December 10th. So it was like 15 days to get the people, shoot them, edit, and send.
That's a tight timeline.
Yeah. But I usually work super good with timelines because I have ADD. So when you give me a time frame, it's like go, or it's not going to happen. So
exactly.
It worked.
Yeah. And how was it like shooting your portrait of Justin? Can you share more about your relationship with him and just that experience as well?
Of course. I used to know him, of course, because it's Justin. Yeah. I used to admire him. And then I was like, what if I ask him? I didn't have a relationship with him before shooting him. I follow him on Twitter. He followed me on Twitter. So I was like, I can send him a message. So I might as well ask. There's nothing to lose. So I asked him and he was like, okay, what's the concept for shooting with me? And I told him, I really want to shoot intimate portraits with people and do on the wherever you guys choose, because I want you to feel at home. I want you to feel comfortable. So he was like, okay. He asked me lots of questions. Yeah. And then I ended up sending him a mood board with everything detailed. Okay, this is my concept. This is my visual references. This is what I want to get. And then he was like, let's make art. And I was like, that's awesome. That's awesome. So it was amazing to shoot with him. After that, we ended up shooting at his house. It was like the front porch of his house at this little spot with beautiful lighting. He was super chill. He got out of his house barefoot, just like super chill. And I told him like, Justin, I'm super nervous. And he was like, you're nervous. I'm nervous. And then we got along after that, and it was amazing to be able to shoot him. And then he told me after the shoot, so am I going to be an NFT? And I was like, yes, you're going to be an NFT.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. So did you fly out you're based in Mexico, right? So where did you end up going for the shoot?
I ended up going to LA. So I'm in Baja California. So it's border town. So I drove to LA to do my portraits. I did 4 more sessions there, and then Justin was the last one.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that just goes to show how kind of welcoming people are in Web3. I think and on Twitter too.
Yeah, and on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I spoke on my first Twitter space last week. It was Ben Glasgow hosting a Twitter space. And just spoke for maybe 2 or 3 minutes and noticed how many people had just followed me back just because I was talking and sharing some details about photography and trying to get into the NFT space. So I do think it's pretty crazy how friendly everyone is here, which I think is an awesome part of the community too.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. I've been doing Twitter Spaces since this, and I'm an introvert, so to be able to do Twitter Spaces, and now I'm brave enough. I was just on a Twitter Space hosting it, like for 4 hours before this. So,
oh my God, 4 hours.
4 hours.
That's awesome. Yeah. One other thing, just on Justin, we really are moved by the Twin Flames collection. We saw how much of a reach that got in the sort of NFT photography community. I think for us, the messaging of him kind of connecting with his fraternal twin sister that he had lost meant a lot to us, just because, you know, we're twins and we have that really close bond. So getting to see him kind of, you know, he mentioned it was a way for him to reconnect with his sister in a way that he hadn't before by shooting. So that meant a lot to us, but would love to get your kind of perspective on the Twin Flames collection and what you thought about it.
I mean, that was what got me to the Twin Flames collection, actually inspired by it too, because the story behind it, always the story behind it, because beautiful image, those are beautiful images, but when you hear the story behind it, that's what's inspiring. That's what gets you. That's what gets people. That's what I learned from shooting portraits. Like, you can do all the photos you want, but if you don't have a story behind it, you're not going to be able to see it in the photos. So that's what's inspiring me for me too, actually. So it's funny that you say that.
Yeah.
I'm also inspired from some of his other works, the smoke and mirrors and, you know, cognition, but Twin Flames is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, I think one thing, I was on a Twitter Spaces and the topic came up about storytelling and the way you even say things in your caption to actually kind of label your photo when you're uploading it to a marketplace. Have you thought about that as well when you're thinking about the NFTs that you want to present to the world? Would you ever add sort of a story behind it or behind your collection? How do you think about that when you're shooting and trying to tell that story, you know, both through the picture, but potentially also through the title and the caption?
I went to photography school in Barcelona to do fashion photography. And you don't think of fashion photography as having a story. But whenever we shot in the beginning without a story, the photos will be like super bad photos or super, you don't care. Yeah. But whenever we got a mood board and a story behind it, even if you don't know the story, when you see the images, you get it. Yeah. So to have that with words, I think it's very important, like to get it to the audience. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that collection of Twin Flames definitely resonated with us because of that story. I think anyone could go and take, you know, portraits of twins, which are, you know, interesting and unique in themselves. But if there's a story behind it, and Justin's was a story that really resonated, I think, with a lot of people, just about kind of spiritually reconnecting to things that you might have lost. And then even just the twin concept in general of, I think, you know, digital twin for us and even the platform we're kind of building is about having a digital and a physical presence. And with the NFTs that he was obviously showing to the world, it you know, there's a digital component of it being on the blockchain on these platforms, but then there's that physical component of what photography is, which is like going out into real life. Going out into the elements and shooting. So it's a really cool concept, and we're really moved by it. On that, it's like, what are your perspectives too on kind of blending the digital and physical with, I know there's going to be a book published of the Who We Are collection. So I'd love to get your take on, you know, bringing the digital and physical together through that as well. I think like to get the physical and the digital is bound to happen in the space. Now that it's going to be like the first book after an NFT collection, that's super for me. That's super exciting. Yeah. Especially since my parents, for example, I told them a little bit about NFTs and they are like, yes, of course, but they don't get it. Yeah. So to be able to give them a book and to hear like, this is the part of the collection that I am, and you can have this book and see what I've been doing, you know, to have a physical, because people will always love the physical, no matter what. And I know some collectors of mine not much, but they are very into this work, but some other people are not. So for me, it's very important. For me, I loved having prints in my house. having a book, being able to have the physical, it's always been super important to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think also when you think about just onboarding this next wave of people into the NFT and just broader crypto space, some aren't necessarily as technically savvy as, the younger generation that's jumped into this. And I think when there is that physical component too, people can actually wrap their heads around what they're owning, and that ownership piece is something that they can actually hold and see, which I think is, a really important concept to help onboard that next wave of people that might not necessarily understand just having a digital component of something. So I think it's really cool to see a bunch of photographers offering that when they do sell the NFT, to say, you can also collect this in a physical form too. So it's really cool to see that it's blending these two worlds together. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you could get so much more opportunities by that. I went to NFT NYC with a friend, and she was giving away her physical prints with a QR code on the back. So she will give away the print, and then if you want to buy it, you can get the NFT from this. Yeah. And then she got, just by onboarding people in the streets, she got sales. Yeah, because the QR code was there. So I think it's a very great opportunity to blend it and make the connection.
No, I think it's super important to see ways that we can help onboard people, whether it's making them understand that there can be a digital and a physical component, making sure that they know they could actually pay with a credit card or a debit card if they were interested. So yeah, no, I think that's a really important piece too. I think there's definitely a lot of space to learn for everyone, and a lot of ways to break down some really, really complex concepts and put it into normal people terms. I think when you throw the words MetaMask, seed phrase, like WAGMI, all these different terms coming out of left field, it makes it feel like a exclusive community when it's really not that at all. And I think once you dive in and you go on a Twitter space, you realize how normal everyone is. But it's that kind of barrier when somebody first says, do you know what a non-fungible token is? It's like, you don't need to explain it like that. Yeah. So I think there's ways to make this place a lot more open and friendly for those newbies that are coming in. So we hope, obviously, interviewing you and a lot of other collectors, photographers, brands, artists, will be able to help kind of get that next wave of people interested and excited about NFTs and where kind of the Web3 world is going.
Yeah, we're pumped. And I think to kind of close out some of our main questions we had, would love to hear from your perspective, if you have for kind of photographers that are just breaking into the space, any advice that you would give to them when they're kind of coming into Web3?
I will advise them to enjoy the process, because that's what you got at the end of at the end of the thing. Like, if you enjoy the process, you're gonna have great results, and not do it only because of the sales. When I shot Justin, I totally forgot it was supposed to be an NFT and it was supposed to sell. I was in the moment and shooting him and having a good time. In the end, that's what you're gonna remember. I'm gonna remember that the time I shot him and that time I shot my friends, because we had a good time. We had fun making art. So enjoy the process and don't get all in your head about getting sales, because that's when they don't come. When you stop worrying about it, trust me, I do it. I say it because of experience. When you stop worrying about it, is when the sales are gonna come.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's awesome advice. And I think right now, a lot of communities, when it's centered around making money, that's when you kind of run a slippery slope. It really should be about backing the artists, backing the community, and doing your research and really being involved in what you're actually buying. So I think that's also from the perspective of a consumer, I think that's also super true, is just to actually be doing it out of pure enjoyment for the community that you would be joining or the artists that you're purchasing from. So good advice.
Yeah, no, I think it's also true. You can see when someone's being authentic or not too. I think, like, I have just recently jumped into the space, and I can already tell kind of who are those people that are constantly in the Twitter spaces and constantly talking or even just listening in. And I'm starting to notice their profiles. And then I want to go and follow them because I know that they're
real.
Yeah, they're real and they're interacting and they're excited about it versus maybe, somebody that's just kind of coming in and trying to make a quick sale, put it on OpenSea and just see what happens. I think it's cool when you see people really, kind of grinding away in these Twitter spaces and putting a lot of time in there because it shows that they're really passionate about learning about NFTs, given it's such a new concept for a lot of photographers who are realizing, they can take their work off of Instagram and off of certain platforms that were, not necessarily giving them the revenue they deserve, but they can do it in a way that's organic coming into this new space using a new technology, like actually trying to learn. So it's been cool to watch that. And that's how I learned about you. I saw you in a Twitter space and heard you talk and realized, you are onto something really awesome. I think this was before your sale.
We were the night before your sale.
I think it was the night of your sale. Yeah.
We were like,
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then I saw the news and was just completely shocked. So I think it's awesome what you're doing. And we were really excited to get to know you a bit more and hear your story.
Me too. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. And thank you for, to look at me and be like, oh, I'm going to reach out to this girl. So I really appreciate it. And you have no idea. I was super excited.
We're so glad we had the chance to have Ari come on. We hope you were able to learn something from her story as an artist entering the NFT photography space. If you're looking to get in touch with her, we've left her social info in the description below. If you're interested in learning more about Web3, you can check out digitalxtwin.io and subscribe to our newsletter. Each week, we interview artists, collectors, and brands entering the space and share additional free resources meant to help you navigate the crypto ecosystem.